Commission meeting of Tuesday, May 27, 2014. Roll call.
Dickman here.
Johnston here.
Carrillo here.
Kavich here.
Speedy here.
Guzikowski here.
Krill here.
Seifert here.
Chandler here.
Item 2 is minutes of the April 29th, 2014 and May 13th, 2014 meetings. You want them separately or together?
Separately.
Okay, so we're going to go April 29th, 2014.
Kavich will make a motion to approve the minutes of April 29th, 2014 as listed.
Guzikowski, a second.
Roll call.
Dickman abstains.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Krill abstains.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler abstains.
And May 13th meeting.
Dickman makes a motion to accept the minutes of the May 13th, 2014 meeting as presented.
Krill seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Krill, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Sure. Hold on 1 second.
Really approved. You people tonight?
Just waiting for the tape to roll.
No, we don't do these things. It's not what we want.
Take a short recess. Mics are live, cameras on. Already lost one customer.
Big crowd.
I don't go all the way to the next day. But I never pop.
That's the only argument.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at him.
What are you doing? It squirts water? No, on French water.
Oh, it's going across.
Happens.
Are they gonna shift into the other side? That's right. Yeah, that's right.
These are not rewound. That'll take a minute. to rewound.
Here all night.
We get paid by the hour.
Oh, that's gonna be the new panel. No.
You know whose second it was?
Yeah, Pat did. I did the first, and then Chris second, and then it was Wally and Pat.
And I'll just take it from the last one.
Here, are we going to you then for
There was nothing to say,
significant common council action?
other than a second.
Thank goodness.
Did we already vote?
Don't lose sleep.
Both of them? The 2-hour tape?
Hour and a half. Usually when we do this, we clean them and rewind them right away.
New building, we need to have digital recording.
You just record on, can't you record on a computer?
You could do a lot. Well, we already have a recording because the camera, but this is a backup. And it's easier to transcribe off.
I wouldn't be able to transcribe off of a computer.
How's it going?
I truly believe that's all made up.
There we go.
Okay.
All right, we're back in business. I'm going to go to item 3, which is significant common council actions. Carrie.
On May 20th, the council approved a resolution approving a certified survey map for the property at 9345 South 15th Avenue. Mr. Mayor.
Wow, that was fast. Okay, item 4A is the review site building and landscape plans submitted by Tom Wolf, Sportland 2, for a proposed outbuilding on the property located at 7221 South 13th Street, tax key number 763-9019. Carrie.
This item was held at the May 13th meeting. This was to allow the applicant ample opportunity to address some of the Plan Commission's concerns regarding aesthetics of the proposed building, as well as provide a site plan showing outdoor storage areas on the property. Since then, there have been a couple of amendments. On the screen right now is the proposed location for the outdoor storage areas. We are still requiring that the outdoor storage areas be dimensioned and provide adequate landscaping. There are 4 options that were submitted by the applicant for the Plan Commission's consideration. The one that's on the screen now incorporates an awning on the east elevation, breaks up the brick by adding some metal panels along the top, and breaks up the south facade using some of the brick wainscoting. Option 2 brings that brick wainscoting down to the ground level. Option 3 brings the wainscoting down to the ground level and adds a decorative band along the top of the east elevation. And option 4 just brings the wainscoting on the south down to the brick level, and also adds the decorative brick line on the east elevation. Staff has directed the applicant to include additional information as was stated earlier, and recommended several facade improvements, such as combining 2 rendering options and adding a spandrel window to the east elevation, raising the brick wainscoting along the bottom of the south elevation to 4 feet instead of 3 feet. However, it has been described to me as the window option is not feasible due to considerations for footings for the proposed building. It would be up to the Plan Commission to decide whether the one or a combination of the 4 options is approvable. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approves the site building and landscaping plan submitted by Thomas Wolf, Sportland 2, for the property at 7221 South 13th Street, subject to conditions 1 through 5. Mr. Mayor.
Open it up to questions from the commission. Commissioner Chandler.
I know when we spoke of this a couple weeks ago, the applicant identified that there were windows at the top. Is that still the case?
Yes, the window line is right up at the top in all of these proposals. You can't really see it in the renderings, but that would be a plastic-type window product.
Okay. And then my other question is, for the applicant, which do they prefer out of the 4?
That I do not know.
You can come on up. Just name and address for the record.
Thomas Wolf, 7221 South 13th Street. Doesn't really make a bit of difference, whatever you guys like. I prefer not to have the awning because big trailers, if they come in and turn around, they don't take the awning out. But, you know, whatever you guys deem fit, because the awning would kind of overhang into the parking lot slightly, and I don't want it to get taken out. But I mean, I would think the awning, looking across the street, you know, the awning only comes out, you know, a foot or 2, you know, so I don't think it'll get taken out by a semi, but you never know.
Thank you.
Commissioner Corral.
I know we kind of threw the awnings out as a possibility. I don't care for the awning myself. I guess 3 or 4, with the windows not being, if I understood correct, the windows continued around onto that elevation affects the weight load or
Or adding a window on the east elevation, yes.
okay, so window out on the east, then if that doesn't work, I think 3 or 4 actually look better than the awning option.
Commissioner Bekavich.
Weighing in on it, the awning, I agree with Pat. I don't like the look of it. Serves absolutely no function. I wouldn't put it out there. It just kind of looks out of place. I myself prefer that version with the solid brick belt all the way around and the band going across the top. I think that's a sharp-looking rendering versus taking those columns all the way to the ground. As far as the east end goes, if it's a rock face block and there's a color contrast, that'd probably be enough. If not, I don't know, you could put a Sportland 2 emblem on there if you could get a sign variance out of this crew, but good luck.
Done?
That's it.
Commissioner Dickman.
No, I also agree, the awning looks like it's just stuck on there. It doesn't do anything for it at all. I did want to ask Carrie, one of the recommendations, Carrie, was that on the south side, that the lower wall would go from 3 to 4 feet. Did you hear anything back from them on that?
Yes, the preference is not to do that.
Okay, just keep it the way it is here. Okay, thank you.
There is another option if the awning is not acceptable to the Plan Commission to put some tall decorative plantings along the bottom of the east elevation to break that up a little bit.
Oh, that'd be good. I'm good with that.
If you look at the rendering, that's butted up to the actual parking lot,
That's what I thought. There's no room there, right?
unless I rip up the asphalt, or we move the building down, but if I move the building down, then we would have, that's to eliminate the fence for the most part. If we move the building down, I would have to connect some fence to it somehow.
All right, so you can't
for
landscape
theft,
the east
security.
elevation, so you can, so what we're seeing is essentially what you can do with south side.
Correct, because we did talk about a door in there after,
Yeah.
and that was a security issue at the time.
I would suggest putting another stand-up tree like you have the two in the picture, one more to, just to kind of break it up, because otherwise we're looking at a massive wall, so, I don't know what height those trees are, 7 or 8 foot tall.
Yeah.
Throw a few of those in there. Commissioner Carrillo?
I'm assuming the roof is not white? Or will it be?
That is white,
It will be white?
whatever color you would like.
Okay. Orange? No. Okay, so it was scheduled to be white. Okay. I
Yeah.
just thought maybe it was in the rendering. And I want to draw attention to the.
They're used to changing stuff, so, for us now.
The vertical lines, the awning, not so much, but the vertical lines that represents on the top is kind of nice. Where it's that kind of light gray that's on the bottom, it's going to be, above the awning, whether the awning's there or not, is kind of a nice touch that it kind of breaks up that wall. So a whole nother number 5.
Done?
Yep.
Commissioner Chandler?
It's identified that staff recommended combining 2 renderings. What 2 renderings was that?
Not specified, just combining them to kind of give a different option that had more of the aesthetic considerations that the Plan Commission was talking about at the last meeting.
Okay.
But the preference was for these renderings, so we didn't get a 5th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so just listening to the comments, 3 was the one that most people preferred.
Yeah, I like 3.
Yeah, 3.
Okay, since we're talking about landscaping, I definitely would add some more uprights.
Just,
Yeah, exactly. Just to break up the monotony of that long wall. Otherwise, I mean, you added some detail to it, which breaks up some of it, so.
Steve?
I think actually it's rendering 4.
Yeah.
Rendering 4, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to drop the columns all the way down to the ground?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want the wainscoting to be solid all the way across?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so it's rendering 4. Commissioner Johnson, was that your?
That was my comment.
All right, Commissioner Crowell?
Just on the roof, if we're doing anything, what's the color of the roof of the existing building up front?
Rock.
It's all rock. So
Actually, no, we changed that to white a couple
Oh, that
years
is-
ago. We had to get a new roof.
if that's, my feelings, it should match, so then I'd stay with white with rendering.
You don't see it, though,
On that one.
obviously, unless you're in the airplane.
Make it easy for you. Stay with white.
Yeah, I would say that probably works the best. Any other questions or comments on that?
No.
Motion on 3, or 4A?
Correll moves that the commission approves the site, building, and landscaping plan submitted by Thomas Wolf, Sportland 2, Inc., for the property at 7221 South 13th Street with the following conditions. Can I specify that drawing at some point?
You have to change that one.
Drawing number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That the east facade is comprised of brick or brick veneer with a contrasting band
And strike
as
the
shown,
rest.
as shown in
Rendering.
rendering 4.
4, yeah.
We're striking 2. That was the 4-foot change, correct?
Okay.
Right.
So 2, that all building and fire codes are met. 3, that all required stormwater, erosion control, and grading plans and impervious surface calculations are submitted for review and approval by the engineering department prior to the issuance of building permits. And 4, that outdoor display of merchandise is limited to the areas shown and on the site plan incorporates appropriate landscaping with dimensions specified.
Work for you, Carrie?
Yes, that can work.
Needs a second.
Chandler,
Seifert,
second.
second. Oh,
Chandler with a second. Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
David, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Correll,
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Item 5A under new business is a plan review of site and landscaping plans submitted by J&L Associates for revisions to the proposed parking lot on the property located at 8,000 South Howell Avenue, tax key number 814-9047-000. Carrie?
The applicants are requesting approval of a modification to their site plan that was approved by the Plan Commission previously. I believe that was in 2013 for this property. The parcel map doesn't actually show it, but it is in 2 pieces. So the property that we're talking about is highlighted in red. The change that is requested is limited to the configuration of the parking lot and the associated landscaping. What they propose to do is move the parking from this side here. This was the approved plan. All right, it's not going to come up. But anyway, move the proposed parking so that it's actually within the easement for the access to this parcel here. So the parking would move from here to roughly here. It's the same amount of parking. It still meets the code requirements. But because it's located within the existing access easement, it would be required to be moved at such time as an access road is conducted to the shared property line with the property to the north right here. So as soon as this road goes in, the parking would have to move back here. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approves the site and landscaping plan submitted by J&L Associates for the property at 8,000 South Howell, subject to conditions 1 through 3. Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Correll?
Maybe I didn't understand, Carrie. I thought what I'm reading says it goes from 39 to 25 spots, so it does?
It does actually have the space for future parking is still there. So that was actually the same amount of parking. It's just, it was specified in the previous plan as future parking. It's the same amount
way.
that's proposed,
Got it.
correct?
Thank you.
There is an error in the Plan Commission report on the size of the parcel. It should be about 1.2 acres, not the 2.8. The 2.8 was before the split.
Applicant is here. Name and address for the record.
Yes, Tom Stelling, Stelling and Associates, 181 West Chestnut, Burlington. To kind of refresh everybody's memory of what we did about a year ago, at that time there was a lot of discussion as to the access point to the new Drexel Town Center. And at that point, that was going to be an intersection. And there was going to be a large push to create I'll call it another circulation pattern through this particular property. So 40-foot easement was set up for traffic to go through to the Chase property, which at this point has no option at this point, because the final outcome was you move down to Sandy, and we're going to be right in, right out. And so rather than having that extra space in between that we're paving that'll go nowhere, let's just move our parking over until such time as something else happens.
Okay. Commissioner Chandler?
The applicant answered my question.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record.
Betty Kinsley, 7975 South Winbrook Court. I mean, I guess I didn't understand anything that you were saying. Can you tell me about this parking lot? Is it on the east side, west side, north side, south side of the property? Or where is it in relationship to the houses that are in Winbrook Court?
Sure. So it'll be on the east side of the property. It'll be on this side right here.
Okay, she's got it, okay.
It'll be,
Okay.
there's an easement right here. It'll be on the west side of the easement, but there would be future parking on this side.
So is that behind the building?
Yes. This would be Howell Avenue here,
Mm-hmm.
and the building would be located here, and there would be
Okay.
parking located right here.
Okay. And then is there plans for landscaping?
Yes, there are. Unfortunately, the landscaping plans are of a color that do not really show up on the screen. In fact, here they are.
So there's landscaping behind the parking lot? So
There's landscaping throughout the proposal.
There it is.
There you go.
There you go, there you go.
So there's, everything that you see in green would be proposed landscaping. So this is along the building here. Up. And along the south side of the building, and then toward the back. There would be a landscape island in between the two parking areas, and then this would be, again, that easement area.
So there's,
There's another,
is there landscaping separating the houses on Winbrook Court from the cars?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a row of existing trees, and they're
Row of
also
trees.
putting in more trees beyond that.
snow storage.
Okay, where's Winbrook Court on there?
It's over here, ma'am.
Okay,
The houses are back here. You had 2 rows of trees in there.
okay,
There you go.
2 rows of trees, houses back here.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Degner.
Arden Degner, 8540 South Pennsylvania. I'm confused with this access road that is not complete, and the plans that were shown did not indicate any road like there's presently behind Wendy's and the bank. And I would imagine that that will be the only access, or will the DOT allow continued access directly off of Howell?
There will be access off Hall.
Yes, the access off of Howell has already been approved.
And the future road is something that, if it ever happens, will connect from that all the way, wrap around to that existing road that's behind Wendy's, and I think it goes all
Well,
the way up to
that's
Shade.
the part that I think is important, because we have ran into that same problem over in Ryan Road, where these groups of developers wanted to put something in without an access road. Now, you know as well as I that if this Drexel Town Square gets built up, and that one light, it's going to be difficult if there's only going to be one access. I think it's very poor policy
You know, this is
to
not
allow this.
this is not on the Drexel Square town side. This is on the other side of the
Yeah, it's the same problem, same problems.
Well, it's lighter,
because
much lighter traffic than you would see in Drexel Town Square.
The traffic is still heavy,
Well, that is true.
and we need access roads.
Right.
Whenever there is I can tell you about the accident I had just 2 months ago at 27th and Morgan, trying to get out of the Goodyear. I tried to get away from 27th Street onto Morgan, but I wasn't fast enough. This man with this truck zipped right past, and even the officer apparently there was a at McDonald's already. So try to have multiple or an alternate passage for these businesses and for people that want to accommodate them, because there's not going to be room to accommodate these in the future. And now's the time to have this access road.
Well, the access road's not going away. It's in the future use plan. Commissioner Bakavich.
I guess my question would kind of be directed towards Commissioner Johnson. Is there going to be a left-hand, a turn lane into this place on Howell Avenue? Is the DOT going to require that?
No, you'll have the outside curb lane as exists now. That'll be your decel XL lane
Okay.
for your right in, right
I
out.
thought that property was going to require it, but
No.
you'd know better than I.
Other questions?
Yeah, there's no crossover.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
It's only right in, right out.
Oh, okay.
Took away the whole
If you, yeah, come up if you're going to speak.
And Brian and I went over this. There's no crossover at all. They took that all away when they moved it down to Sandy. And so all we have is a right in, right out.
You mean,
Yes, I was-
you mean Susan?
Susan, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think where Sandy is.
Susan, sorry. Susan, my apologies.
That's all right.
And so it's only right in, right out for both us and Chase and that whole intersection.
And much of Howell Avenue is going to be changed as how people move around.
Yeah.
Supposed to be safer. Other questions? Motion on 5A.
Dickman makes a motion, the Plan Commission approve the site and landscaping plans submitted by J&L Associates for their property at 8,000 South Howell Avenue with the following conditions. 1, that all fire codes are met. 2, that all required stormwater, erosion control, and grading plans are submitted for review and approval by the engineering department prior to the issuance of building permits. And 3, that the lighting plan is approved by electrical inspector prior to the issuance of building permits.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Correll, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Item 5B is a certified survey map submitted by One West Drexel LLC for the property at 8041 South Hall Avenue, tax key number 813-9028-000. Applicant is here. Carrie?
The CSM is to split the property into one building lot and 2 outlots. Lot 1, which is right here, will become part of Drexel Town Square. It's the location of the proposed conditional use permit application that will be next on the agenda. Outlot 2 and the southern part of Outlot 1 are part of the private ingress-egress road easement between Town Square Way and the properties south of Drexel Town Square. So you can see this right here. The easements and access restrictions are shown on the property. There's an easement here and here. There's also an easement along the east side of the proposed building lot, as well as a no access restriction along the 50 feet as required by code. Staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by One West Drexel LLC for the property at 8041 South Howell Avenue be approved with the condition that all technical corrections are made prior to recording. Mr. Mayor.
Questions on 5B? Motion on 5B.
Seifert moves that the Planning Commission recommend to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by One West Drexel LLC for the property at 8041 South Hall Avenue be approved with the conditions that all technical corrections are made prior to the recording.
Correll seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Corell, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Item 5C is a conditional use permit request submitted by the Panda Restaurant Group for a conditional use for a restaurant with drive-through facility on the property at 8041 South Howell Avenue, tax key number 813-9028-000. Carrie?
This is the conditional use permit request that was mentioned in the previous report for a drive-through restaurant in the Drexel Town Square on the property right here in red. That was just subject to the CSM just approved. This lot is in the perimeter commercial sub-district within Drexel Town Square, which accommodates auto-oriented businesses. Site building, landscaping, lighting, and signage plan review will occur at a later date. However, some site and building details have been included in the plans submitted for conditional use review. As part of the review of site and building plans, staff will be specifically looking for, amongst other things, pedestrian connections to Howell Avenue, as well as locations for a Drexel Town Square monument development sign, which would most likely occur on the corner right here. 2 potential ingress and egress points and connections are right here and right here. This connection right here is actually existing and is proposed to be eliminated following construction. There's also a connection to the property to the south, which has the Sonic restaurant on it. That will likely not be used post-construction. The drive-through lane along the south here is roughly 13 feet wide and can accommodate at least 8 vehicles in the queuing lane, which meets the code requirement. Staff recommends that the applicant consider including in future plans striping between the parking stalls and the east entrance along here as a caution to vehicles exiting the drive-through that pedestrians may be crossing from the east parking stalls. If the Plan Commission recommends Common Council approval of the conditional use permit, staff will prepare conditions and restrictions for review at the June 10th meeting. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approve a conditional use permit allowing for a restaurant with drive-through facilities located at 8041 South Howell Avenue after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the Commission at the next meeting on June 10th. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Open up to questions from the commission. Alderman Bekavich.
The existing drive will be abandoned, and then the future connection will be a little farther to the west on West Town Square Way for the entrance in, as noted on there. So really, you'll have 3 entrance-exit points to this particular facility. You'll have one on the west, one on the west, one on the north, and then one on the south side.
This south side is actually an existing connection for Sonic. This is actually their main access drive out to Howell. So,
That'll go away?
It would likely, if it doesn't go away, it would likely not really be used by many vehicles because there'd be no out here anymore. So any vehicles that would be going through the Sonic drive would either be going out this way or coming from Sonic and going out one of these 2 areas.
Okay. Go ahead.
Jerry Frankie, West Park 301, West Wisconsin Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That will go away, that road. First of all, this is doing what we just talked about with the property across the street. It's creating the frontage road entirely north-south, parallel to the Woodman's property. Secondly, I'd remind the commission that this property was not part of the original Drexel Town Square, but when the state of Wisconsin said you need to move it down to Susan, your key access point, we had to acquire this property. I would also point out that on the staff report, the size of this parcel is .9033. The original parcel, which we've cut in half and by virtue of the previous action of the Plan Commission, includes that. So it's a very small parcel, limited number of users that can fit on there. We feel very fortunate that we can get this use on that property, but we do need to go through the site plan process relative to some traffic flow issues. But I just wanted to make sure that the commission was aware of those few things.
I do like the frontage idea. It's just, that's too close to Howell Avenue to.
I agree,
there.
Alderman. Yes, sir.
But otherwise, yeah, I like the idea of using it as a frontage road, especially for Sonic's purpose, because they'll kind of be an island, because Woodman's entrance is going to change also substantially. And that's it for me.
Commissioner Dickman?
Okay, I do like the idea of the use for this property, but I do realize that we're only here for the conditional use permit tonight. But because it is being done because of the potential for a Panda Express restaurant there, are they under the same conditions that we worked on, the last year or two? What buildings have to look like, amount of glazing, colors and things. Are they under all those restrictions? Because sometimes when you get a franchise place like this, they have their own unique requirements and they don't always fit with our, things that we wrote into our documentation.
To my knowledge, they would be required to comply with the DTSMUPDD, the Drexel Town Square Mixed Use Plan Development District. However, you're correct that the plans for the building will be reviewed at a later time, and I've seen some of the building plans, and
they seem like they may fit?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Dickman, a positive yes. They are under the same planned unit development guidelines that were adopted for the entire parcel. They were incorporated after we moved the frontage road.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Carrillo.
Can you refresh my memory on the stipulations on drive-throughs? I thought we talked about at some time in that long acronym
Yes.
business plan that there were not to be drive-throughs in the area.
No, the DTS MUPDD,
Yes.
yes, labels restaurants with drive-through facilities as conditional uses in 2 of the sub-districts. And this is one of the sub-districts where that is allowed.
Because of the size primarily?
It's because it's a commercial perimeter outlot. It's the location of the lot that makes the most sense for a drive-through facility to be located, according to the DTS MUPDD.
It's actually a nice transition between Sonic and Drexel Town Square as well. I've toured one of their restaurants recently, and architecturally they're pretty cool looking. Did you have anything else, Don?
Yep.
Mr. Seipert?
Yeah, I have a question about the drive-through and the parking right here. Is there enough space so that you won't have a problem with people coming through the drive-through and people backing out? We had that with Dunkin' Donuts.
The drive aisle is proposed to be 24 feet, and drive aisles minimum in the municipal code would be 22 feet.
So 2 feet bigger?
Mm-hmm.
Like how I did the math there?
I just think this right here would be just a potential problem of people backing out in the drive-through.
I would defer any comments if Commissioner Johnston would be so nice as to jump in here.
I think those would probably be the last spots to be filled at that restaurant. The drive-through is going to be a big piece of this business. Not a whole lot of parking is going to be happening over there. I'd be more concerned with people driving through there as a frontage road with that drive up on the north end, that close to Howell.
Good. Commissioner Corral?
Kind of goes in with Fred's point, and I agree, nobody's going to be parking there. You have plenty of parking, drive-throughs the main use. That doesn't concern me, but how do we, I think closing that access point has to happen. Is that done at this proceedings, or do we wait to, I mean, we've been told it's going to go away, correct? I understood that.
Yes, this location here is already identified as being to be abandoned, and this is the area that Mr. Frankie said would also be abandoned as an access point.
I guess in this, what we're doing tonight, how do we need to address that's,
You could require that the plan is amended to include another notation such as the one up here, that it would be removed at, at such time that it's that the parking and
after
the uses.
construction or whatever?
Yeah, but we don't have the site plans yet. All we're doing tonight is the conditional use.
Right, so my
That's true.
point is, will that happen?
In the next.
Yes.
That
You can do that during the site plan review.
Okay, perfect.
Alderman Bekavich.
Just a comment, on the bright side, it being a drive-through, it is on the south side, does not face Drexel Town Square, so that's a big positive. As far as a drive-through layout goes, that's about 100 times better than what we wrestled with Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to McDonald's, actually, with those parking spaces that Fred brought up. And, there's really not an issue going on there. Even with that connector road, I don't know if it's an issue for tonight, but there's quite a bit of distance off the edge of the building with the curbing there. I don't know the exact dimension, but it's got to be 10, 12 feet there. Until it has to go away, I guess I'd approach it then, but a far better plan than what we dealt with at Dunkin' Donuts by far. And there's no pedestrian openings on the east side of the building or the south. So, pretty decent for what we have to work with, or they have to work with, I should say.
Commissioner Corral?
I agree with you, it's not even close to that other situation, but do we not want to get the traffic to the west, behind the building? I mean, isn't that the whole point of closing that up?
I guess so, but I guess my thing is, and we kind of gypped Sonic of their total access there, right? There's only one way in and out of Sonic, and that's through Woodman's at that point in time.
Or else going through the property next to them that isn't even there at this point, so they really don't have it now.
Well, no, they have 2 ways in right now, correct? one from Woodman's, and then
Oh,
they
yeah,
have that,
yep. That-
which is this, basically.
I think to make the development flow, to keep that open, and you got two fast drive-throughs and cars going between the lots, I just don't think that's something we want to encourage.
True. I don't know if we address it now or later.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Just a quick question, Brian, under the certified survey map, I think it looks like that vehicle, are we talking about the one furthest to the right?
Yeah, there.
Up there? That one goes away, has to go.
This one goes
Yeah,
away.
without a-
And there's just absolutely no reason for Sonic traffic to come through, wind their way around to get to one of these two access points. And quite honestly, I think it's going to be open to debate on the second one, right there on the, what do we call that street?
Town Square Way.
Thank you. Because that is relatively close to Howell, so it's something that everyone's going to have to get comfortable with, including the developer.
Yeah, that could be a pinch point too there. for
Commissioner Johnson?
Just something else to consider when we get to the site and building plans. Landscaping issues along this frontage, because the easement line is right here. There's going to be limited landscaping that's available along Howell. It's something we ran into with Sonic and everybody else along that stretch too.
You got some ideas?
No.
All right. We got a few weeks to think about that. Any other questions or comments on 5C? Motion?
Bekavich will make a motion that the Plan Commission recommend to the Common Council approve a conditional use permit allowing for a restaurant with a drive-through facility located at 8041 South Howell Avenue after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the commission at the next meeting, June 10th.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Bekavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Steve,
Guzekowski, aye.
excuse me, could I ask?
Hold
Carrie-
on one second.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Wally.
Could I just ask Carrie, when do you think we will have the site and building plans? I know the next meeting's the, you know, the conditions. Just how far out are we?
You did?
That I'd have to ask the applicant's representative.
You can come forward. Name and address.
Hi, my name is Hakim Yala. I'm with Penta. I'm the construction manager for the Midwest and Canada. We're planning to submit for the June 10th all the plans needed, and everything will be approved based on your code requirements. And when she mentioned the design of the building, I'm kind of, my apologies for the architect. He had a personal emergency, so he couldn't make it. He was supposed to submit all the rendering, all the details with this application. Not sure he submitted that for you guys.
No, because the site building and landscaping, all of those reviews have to come after the full conditional use permit process. So I assume that he'll be submitting within the next couple of weeks.
And the sooner the better. We're trying to start construction as soon as everything is approved. We're hoping to open by the end of the year. So, thank you.
All right, so I voted.
We all did.
Everybody voted?
No.
No,
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
this side.
No, we.
Go ahead.
gotta
I
say
voted. Corral, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay. Good question, Wally. 5D is temporary use permits request submitted by Kevin Kosuski with Super Western Inc. for a temporary concrete batch plan on the property at 331 West Drexel Avenue, tax key number 813-9031-000. Carrie.
The request is for a temporary concrete recycling plant at 331 West Drexel Avenue, which on the highlighted parcel will be on this side, roughly right here. In fact, they've submitted a map that shows a little bit better the location. Again, this would be the proposed Main Street into Drexel Town Square. This is the location for the proposed temporary use. Recycled pavement materials from work at the Drexel Town Square project and the Howell Avenue project will be used as trench backfill or roadway base course within Drexel Town Square according to the application. Materials associated with this temporary use permit will not be sold or used off-site for any other purpose, and no materials will be brought to the site from other projects. Activities will comply with the existing erosion control, cleanup, and restoration plans as outlined by Drexel Town Square contracts. The hours of operation are proposed to be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Crushing is proposed to be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturdays, only on an as-needed basis, would be 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. The recycling would occur twice between June 1st and September 30th. Each recycling project would last approximately 5 days. The anticipated truckload is 30 per day for 25 working days with 3 employees on site at any given time. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approves the temporary use permit for the temporary concrete recycling plant at 331 West Drexel Avenue, subject to conditions 1 through 4. Mr. Mayor.
I'll open it up for questions or comments on 5D.
I'm Kevin Koszewski, representing Super Western N59W14601 Bobolink, Menominee Falls. We are the contractor requesting this permit.
Okay. Well, if any questions, we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
Mr. Lapine?
Bruce Lapine, 9540 South Pennsylvania Avenue. I am one of the owners of Lapine Enterprises. We own a concrete and asphalt recycling company. I look at this and wonder, how does this get through the Planning Commission and allow it through the city? My wife and I, went for 5 years in front of the boards here to get us approved. We are the most restricted company in the city of Oak Creek. Now I look at this and I'm sad because you're putting a company out of business. We had a verbal agreement on this project when I bid these jobs to take the concrete and asphalt over to our approved site to recycle it and use it for projects in the city of Oak Creek.
Who was the verbal agreement with?
All the contractors that bid on the job. When one of them was the contractor that won, we had a verbal agreement. They came in, which Super Excavators, I know them. My dad even worked for them for a while. Top line company. But you're allowing recycling on, I don't even know, what's the zoning on this property? B1, B2?
No, it's the Drexel Town Square mixed use.
Okay, what is it? So, where's the M1 on this property?
There is no M1 anymore.
Then how are you letting them recycle on something that has M1? No M1. I went through a year to get an M1 zoning. Now, I want to show you another mistake you guys did here. This is from your planning meeting. It says, review for a temporary use for a temporary concrete batch plant. It's not a batch plant. Totally different machinery. So all the neighbors, whoever got the flyers, got the wrong information on it. Now, let's go through a little bit here on their program here, that their application. You see that nice little plan there? That cost us $50,000 to do our plan, to do a landscape plan, do a survey plan, do a topo map, we do everything else. I'm still paying for it. We had to build berms and trees. Now you're taking this material from Howell Avenue, which is a different contractor, bringing it on your site, crushing it and using it on your site. I see this gentleman right here has a beautiful new building he's proposing. Can I do that on any other site? If there's a site, say on Howell Avenue and College, nice, beautiful site there, I want to build a hotel. Would you allow me to bring a couple 100,000 tons of concrete on that site to build a hotel? You would not. This gentleman here, you're doing it. Now, I want to give you a little history on this site. Woodman's, when you guys built the first property, I guess you can say, before most of you members were on this board, you tore down the old Delphi site. You had AC and you had AC and you had Delphi. You tore down the old AC part. You had so many code violations with that company. When I came up in front of your people, you just stacked the code, all the different layers of headaches and costs for us. They had dust coming across that property so bad it looked like forest fires. they were only allowed for a month to crush. 6 months later, on a Sunday morning, they're crushing. And the late Mayor Boliner, I took him out there. You had mud on the road that thick. When I came in front of your board here, you guys put me in that column. Man, we don't want businesses like you here. It's true. You guys did everything possible for us to make it expensive for my wife and I to run our business. Now, after we've been here for 15 years. No complaints, no fines, no DNR comes and inspects our property all the time, never got even a warning. They bring down interns to show us, to show the property. They're taking a work away from us. And you allow concrete batch plants. You had a nice one on 6th and Rawson. Code violations up the wazoo.
Yeah, that's your opinion. That's
No. Hold on, Mr. Mayor.
You're taking your old grievances, and I respect your
Mayor.
business. I think you do a great job, but you're taking old grievances with the
Okay,
city.
well, let's do a
and
new
bring them into
grievance
this.
right
I have
now.
to speak to this agenda item.
All right, let's point out another agreements. Did you have asphalt millings brought on your property the other day? Or on the job site? From Hall Avenue. 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not allowed to do that. They did it. Did they tell you that most of this Howell Avenue work is at night? Did they tell you that? Because I can't do that. You look at the hours of operations that they did here. I can only work 5 o'clock from 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. I get escorted off my property at 5 o'clock. Saturdays, I can't open up till 8:30 in the morning when everybody else is at 7. I got to be off the property at 8:30 or 12:31. Now, I wanted to ask you, Mayor, in this agreement with Super Excavators, no material is supposed to go on the property from other jobs or off, right?
That's what it says.
You did it last year.
I didn't do it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. Mayor, you had a contractor on site crushing all that concrete last year, concrete and asphalt, right?
Right.
You sat in that chair last year saying all the concrete, all the asphalt stayed on site. Is that true?
As far as I know.
15,000 tons went on to another contractor's site last year. Did you know?
Why don't we let the applicant talk about that?
I'm not the applicant on this. I want to address the issue of what left that site last year. That was the asphalt from the parking lot. I don't know whoever promulgated that statement, but it was never the intent to use the crushed asphalt on that site.
Okay.
When we hired Oaks to do that, they specifically took it down to the Highway K exit down. It was not meant to stay on this site. Ground up asphalt is not what we're using on it. Every other piece of concrete stayed on this site.
All right.
Hold on one second.
Mayor,
Hold on one second. I've given you lots of leeway, because I respect your business, and I don't want.
That's what I like to have is respect.
But I can't direct contractors to your business exclusively. You have to compete like everybody else.
I understand. I want to compete like everybody else. I want to be fair and honest as everybody else. I had a contract with the contractor that took that asphalt, and he canceled our contract because he got it cheaper at your site. Now, I want to address the board here.
It's a commission.
Or, I'm sorry, the commission here. What other business can come in, go onto a different site with the wrong zoning, and take material from the road and bring it on there? If I was a bar or a restaurant, I have to follow the same codes as everybody else. Our codes are, you guys made a conditional use for us. We had to add 25 to 35, 45-foot high berms, hours of operations, trees, the whole 9 yards. I can't compete now, Mr. Mayor.
I understand that. You're going back to your specific situation. Everything you said about the terms and restrictions on your property could all be brought back for review. Every one of these people, I think except one, are new people since all that happened.
All right, Mayor, I have done that. I have done that, and it was shot down. That was
Ultimately, the commission will decide. They will determine the correctness of what you're trying to accomplish.
Because
there's no vendetta against you.
No,
Trust
I
me,
don't
there
want a
isn't.
vendetta. I love my wife, Donna, here. Donna and I love what we do.
I know you guys do. I've been to your place.
And we work very hard. And we have a conditional use. I don't know if you guys ever heard of one, that if we make a mistake and we get fined, or not even fined, you find out that we did something wrong, we lose everything. We lose everything. We lose our 401k, our zoning, our house, everything. Now, this gentleman here runs our fine business, but last week they broke the laws already. There was
You can't make charges like that.
Okay, well, they were not properly doing the job last week because of the dust, mud on the road.
If they broke the law, we have inspection. We have all of those agencies that can determine that.
Didn't I tell you to go over there? Did you go over there? Yes, I did go. What did you find?
The day that you came in to complain
Yeah.
about the situation, I went there, and then there was a small pile of concrete that was going there, but there was no crusher. You told me there was a crusher
no,
there.
I didn't say it. I said the haul trucks were running around creating so much dust it looked like a forest fire over there. I didn't say nothing about a crusher because I have told many a times that different crushers that have been in the city and they violated their plan with you guys and nobody has done anything to them.
Well, going back to the dust thing, because we had quite a lengthy conversation
Yes.
like we're having now, and one was the dust. Well, the next day we went out there and it rained, so
Yeah, I understand
it
that.
cut down the dust right away. So that one,
I understand it. Did you check the road for mud?
I did not see any mud where I went.
Going down Drexel Avenue towards I-94. Clear code violation.
All right, I've given you a solid amount of time.
Well-
Can you kind of wrap up? Because I understand your point, but we feel Drexel Town Square is following the rules on the site. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We cannot direct business to you.
No, there's other people that recycle concrete there.
I know that.
But the thing is how can I compete when I can't give them the same prices and the same obligations than what you guys put on them? If they mess up, why don't you fine them? Oh yeah, they did mess up. You guys don't fine them.
Again,
I lose everything.
You cannot make charges. Speak to your issue, not talking about what they're doing.
I understand.
I understand you have grievances from the past.
All right.
But you have to bring them
let's put
forward
a
in front of this
temporary-
body and we'll reconsider them.
Okay,
if they think
let's
it's
put a bond on here, so when they do a violation, it's a $100,000 fine. Because I pay stormwater tax, I pay all kinds of stuff. When they do fines or do something illegally, let's put something on there. But they're bringing in concrete from a different job to put it on Drexel Town Center. Beautiful center, the whole 9 yards. But would you allow that on anybody else's property?
All right, thank you. I'm going to go through the commission here. Commissioner Siepert.
I just have a question about controlling the dust level when you're doing this operation. Is there some form of watering it down or otherwise,
Yes, we follow DNR guidelines with water suppression.
Okay. What about the noise level when you're doing that crushing?
That's within the tolerances allowed by the state.
What is the tolerance?
That I could not answer, but the people we hire to do the crushing abide by the regulations that are stipulated.
I would just like to know what the level is, that noise level.
Pete?
I can't give you the decibel level that is the threshold. However, this would be the similar operation that was done when crushing was done a year before, and I can't see why the noise level would necessarily go up with this operation compared to the operation in the back. However, if we were to receive any noise complaints, we do have the ability, we do have a decibel meter that we can go out and, we can find out what that threshold is and make sure at the property line that it does not exceed that noise, that nuisance.
Did we receive any noise complaints last year?
No, we did not.
Okay.
I have not.
Commissioner Correll.
A couple of points here. I think Commissioner Dickman and myself been through this,
Yeah.
the whole thing with Mr. Lapine. Before you spoke this evening, I had buzzed in, Mayor, the question being, I know that we put a lot of restrictions as to when Mr. Lapine and other crushing facility, when they could do the work. I knew the Saturdays doesn't match up. It seemed to me they were starting earlier. So my question was, I don't quite understand the lack of consistency there. And I'll as far as any other accusations, all the other things, I don't know enough about that business to comment on it. But I know that we held a very high standard. I know the berms and all the things that we did. So I have two questions: why they don't match up with Mr. Lapine's, and how does he then directed to handle that? And secondly, this question that kind of strikes me is if this, other than this project, I'm building a hotel across the street, would I get temporary crushing permits? Would we see fit to do that? I don't know the answer to that, and I guess that's why what is our leeway, or how often, Pete, is that requested?
Well, if the issue is the crushing, now according to what was requested, they want to do Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Reviewing Bruce, the Lapine Enterprise conditional use, they have crushing allowed from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So they have the same start time, and they're actually ending for the crushing part to 4 p.m. So the crushing it matches.
Okay.
It's the general operation, which could be moving the stuff from one pile to the next pile, but the crushing is similar, just that the operation of.
So general, they're extended till 8, where Lapine ends at 5.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, real quick.
And Saturdays.
Pat, I just want to point out that that is part of the noise ordinance for the city. That's 7 to 8 o'clock. So that's where that time frame comes from.
Okay. And then why was the Lapine's crushing not held to that same noise?
That I don't know.
I came at the very end of the Lapine conditional use permit, and I recall oftentimes the comparison when it comes to like the Woodman's crushing site and Bruce's site is that the Lapine site is a permanent use there, where these are temporary, that it's not going to be there. The idea is we give them as much time as we can at the site so they can get in, get out ASAP, whereas a permanent recycling center at that time, and I'm trying my best to
Sure, to put it back
paraphrase it.
together. And I don't recall the rationale, I guess that's why I asked, but I guess I would look at it and say, if we have someone that's permanent in a business in the community and they're held to a more restriction than we're allowing temporary to come in here and hit and run, it does kind of, it just makes me question it.
Oh, yeah, and I mentioned to Bruce that, he has the opportunity to come before the commission and council and ask his conditions to be amended, and I know it's been a very bitter, not to dwell on the Lapine thing, not the current item, that, there's some hesitancy on his part to come up and get beat up again, like he did when he went for this conditional use back in well, it looks like the last was revised in 2010, so 4 years ago, so.
Separate issue, I just want to understand, because I would certainly encourage him, if we're looking at these type of things, we should look at all of it.
Right. I would say these are extraordinary circumstances, too. We don't have projects like this.
And one of the other things, too, about this particular batch plant is working on a project for the DOT, and the state can just say, you know what, we're just going to set up the patch plant right in the right-of-way, and we don't need any approvals from you whatsoever. So here, the applicant is we're trying to make a situation in the best interest of the city and the construction project. So if it goes on the Drexel Town Square site, it gets out of the right-of-way, we can control some of the little bit more control as well. So that's part of the reason that we encourage them to go for the temporary use permit in this particular case.
Mr. Frank?
Thank you.
I just wanted to address one question Commissioner Carell raised. Why couldn't you do it for a hotel or something? You have to have a very large-scale project for the economics of on-site crushing to make sense. That's why the Howell project is doing it. That's why the 85-acre site we had, which was about 55 acres concrete, worked. It wouldn't work for a small contained site. It would have to go to an operation like Mr. Lapine's.
Thank you.
I just want to inform you, he's wrong. Simple as that. We got crushers going on, house demolitions now, that in City Oak Creek. So I can get you a concrete crusher that walk through that door and crush the concrete in this floor. So the size doesn't matter anymore. What it is why are you taking it from one job site to another job site? That's my question. Why? Because you will not allow that. If I own a piece of property over here, you will not allow that to go on if I was building a restaurant. You know, I bring 200,000 tons on a parking lot. You wouldn't allow that.
Commissioner Bekavich.
To address some of this, I don't want to go on. I was here for the tail end of Mr. Lepine's deal. I personally am pretty familiar. I spent good share of time in gravel pits and things like Mr. Lepine has. I've worked on crushers. I've wired them. I thought it was pretty restrictive for them. Of course, I'm not totally familiar. They had the berms because there was some residential properties east of him, cut down, blah, 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 whatever it was. The difference here, and Pete made the point, was temporary versus permanent. When it was permanent, I believe that was why all the restrictions went down on that. Once again, this is a temporary thing. I do agree with Mr. Frankie, if you're going to do a hotel, you need a large quantity to crush this, to make it economically feasible. Why would you take that concrete off-site to have it crushed to be brought back and pay that trucking cost per load? It's not how things are done. Road crews go down, they will grind right on site, turn it right over and turn it into road bed. You'll see the crushers along the street, and Pete is right. They can set up anywhere they want from the state. We've done partnerships before with the state. The Mitchell Interchange provided much of our cap on the lakefront, if you remember. So a lot of this goes back to not only the Oak Creek taxpayers, but the county and the state people alike, because the DOT has to get rid of that material. What better use than to recycle it to the closest possible green use you could use, which would be, in this case, from Howell Avenue to Drexeltown Square. Once again, that's my district. When we crushed last year, and we crushed for a much longer period than the 6 months we're proposing, I received 0 complaints on noise, dust, mud, anything like that. So at this point in time, I'm for it. Mr. Lepine, I would suggest you come back and we review your documents again. It does sound very restrictive, and with your track record, I think maybe it's a new ballgame and maybe you'd get a better deal out of it.
I would encourage you to do that as well. All right, thank you. Commissioner Dickman.
I do agree with the other commissioners that we're looking here at temporary use versus Mr. Lepine, which is a permanent use. But I did want to talk about the word, we've been using the word batch plant or batch versus recycling, you know, that both Mr. Lepine and you, Pete. Can you define for me, is there a difference between them, or is it the same?
Yes, there is a difference. You know, when you're doing a recycling site, you're actually taking the concrete, breaking it up, making piles of rock, and then reusing it. Where a concrete batch plant is, you're actually mixing the sand and the water, and you're actually making new concrete to be laid on a particular project. Similar would be the one that was on the Purpuro site? Sixth and College, the Purpuro site, where there was a concrete batch plant where they were actually mixing it and then trucking it over to I-94. They did have a portion where I believe they did some crushing. I think there was some crushing on that one, but that was in a separate, you know, it was a temporary use permit that talked about, but they identified this is where we're going to crush, this is where we're going to mix, and there are 2 different uses.
Okay, so we should really keep the word batch plant out of this discussion then? I mean, this evening? Okay.
For the recommendation, yes, for the temporary use permit.
Mr. Johnson.
I just wanted to point out about the asphalt millings. That's part of the Howell Avenue project.
I know.
That's a DOT project, and that is scheduled for the milling operations and the paving operations to be conducted at night. The state is doing that to keep more lanes open during the day, so they can close down 2 lanes at night and do the operations. It's safer for the construction crews.
I understand that.
Yeah.
When is he getting his concrete? At night or day?
Concrete would be coming in the day because removals are coming during the day.
Now, are you going to be do you work for the state?
No.
Or are you involved with this project?
I'm involved with the project, yes.
Okay, oh, sorry. That question is, are you bringing asphalt millings on this site too?
Asphalt millings?
Yes.
I don't believe they're bringing millings on.
Are you taking millings? how you want.
You guys can't have side conversations, so
Well,
you
I'm
can
just
direct the
asking-
question, then you can ask him if he wants to answer, then you
Well,
can come up.
ask him the question, if they're doing the millings at night, how is he getting the millings on the site at night,
Would you like to
at
address?
middle of the night?
We propose to take the millings on site. I'm not sure. Payne and Dolan is doing the milling, and I don't know if it's 100% at night or partially at night and partially during the day.
Okay. Mr. Chandler, were you done, Brian?
Yes.
So when you say at night, what time is that? Is that after 8 or this 4 o'clock time frame?
I would say, depending on our lane closures, I think they're scheduled for after 8 o'clock at night, yes.
After 8 p.m., okay. And then I've heard some discussions about transporting materials from one location to another. Can you give more information about that? Because I know in the documents we have, everything's on site, so can you provide some clarity?
Well, the material would be reused on the Drexel Town Square site. We propose hauling broken pavements in from the Howell Avenue project, which we are the contractor on, to the Drexel Avenue site, reprocessing them, and then reincorporating them into the Drexel Town Square site.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Pat?
I guess I'm confused in terms of if it's after 8 o'clock at night, the DOT can say they can do it. Does it matter what hours we put on there? Are we just spinning wheels here? Or is this an issue? Brian, maybe you can answer that.
The DOT can do the millings at night. That's not an issue. The issue is where they do them with the millings.
Yeah.
Are they delivered on site at night?
And do we have any control, or if we say they can't, I'm not saying we would, then, I mean, what happens? What are we,
Yeah, what do they do with it?
what are we talking?
What do they do with them?
Yeah.
What control?
So I
do we
mean, it
have?
sounds to me like the DOT is gonna do it at night, they're gonna bring them there at night, and it doesn't really
Matter what we do.
matter what we say. Is that
Go ahead, Pete.
question?
I think there might be some control that we can do because it's going to be on the Drexel Town Square site. We can control that. If they just want to stockpile the millings in the public right away, we can't, and they want to truck it, and do that. If they want to, that's the concern here is that if we don't come up with an agreement as to when we can operate, when can things done, the worst case scenario is they block up, whatever
More lanes
site
of
that they
traffic.
want to, and then they're going to continue to operate. So I believe that we could have some sort of control if it's on the private property compared to if it was in the right-of-way. So we're trying to get them onto the right-of-way, but I think there has to be some sort of understanding with the DOT as to what is acceptable. If they're saying, well, we want to truck at night, well, then if you're going to limit us to 8 p.m., well, we're going to most likely.
We have to do everything we can to get these roadways back into production, so, I'm not gonna throw up roadblocks for them. If we need Howell Avenue fixed and back up. So I'm not gonna slow down the process, I'm not gonna make it harder for them to do it. Ultimately, it's their highway. We will assist them in any way we can. I understand the issues of noise and all that stuff, but ultimately, if we have a shorter reconstruction time, that's good for everybody. The taxpayer saves money.
Mayor,
The residents can
My
drive.
question is, though, we can't sit here and vote on and pass something that says you're not going to do it and then allow them to do it. If they're going to access it after 8 o'clock, then put it on here, and I'm fine with it. Get Howell Avenue done. But what we're saying here is it's not going to happen, and we're realistically saying it is going to happen. So if we're telling people we're voting and nothing happens after 8, Steve, I'm just saying open that up then. Move it along.
Maybe the applicant
what's your comment, Pete?
Maybe the applicant can address when he expects the DOT to be bringing materials on the site. Is it going to be during the day, or will it be 24/7 operation?
We're a subcontractor to Payne and Dolan, and I'd have to check their schedule. Due to the nature of the job, it's a fast-track job. There's a lot of work to get done. It's a moving target, in all honesty.
I have a
It's going to be during the day. It could be during, at nighttime operations also.
Would you be doing the trucking, or would DOT be doing the trucking of those materials?
Well, Payne and Dolan would be doing the trucking of the materials, and I'd be doing the handling of them on site.
Mr. Johnson?
It would defeat the purpose to not truck these in at night. They're milling this off, depositing it into a dump truck. It's going to drive to the site, dump them in a pile. There's a cost benefit for everybody to do it that way.
May,
Agreed.
may,
So
may I
we
a-
should open that up.
may I ask you a question, Mayor?
Sure.
This, Jim, I'm roughly estimating about, between the concrete and the asphalt, with the paperwork I got this winter, or this spring when I bid it, approximately 80,000 tons worth of material between the concrete and asphalt. Do you make any money on it?
Do I make money on it?
Or the city?
Do we make
Because-
money on that?
Because he already has his contract, and he's going to bring in 80,000 tons. He's going to save the trucking and everything else. He's going to save $7 a ton. Are you guys getting anything back for doing this work?
Well, you realize the city is, the entity represents the taxpayers, so the
Well-
taxpayers, yeah, they may benefit from it.
How? Because I don't know
Reduce
what.
cost of the project.
The project's already bidded out. He bidded it out not to haul it to the site here, because he didn't know he was going to get this agreement tonight or not. So, and he's going to save all this money on stone from a different source, and you guys don't benefit from it. Now the question is, who benefits from it?
No way of knowing how they.
There
Although
is-
the DOT bid the job, he did not have permission to bring on the Drexel Town Center. So he bought the stone for the job, or got a price from a quarry, whatever quarry he got, and he figured the job with that price of trucking it. Closest quarry is from Franklin. That's about $5 a ton. Is he reimbursing the city for getting this material on the site?
Yes, yes.
How? Are you scaling this?
No, it's a lump sum credit.
Now, in the original DOT paperwork, did it say it was going to go on Drexel Town Center?
That I don't know.
So how is he going to, so the city's going to get, I don't know what his contract is, how much amount.
We're getting so far off of it. We're
No.
getting into the mechanics of his bid. I mean, this is
Well,
crazy.
I'm just trying to save the taxpayers
We are
hundreds of
saving the
thousands.
taxpayers' money by doing it the right way.
If you're saving the
You're
taxpayers
looking
money.
to direct this business to your stuff
No,
and making
I'm
yourself
looking
look
to
at
be
the
fair and honest with our business.
There's nothing dishonest about the process. Everything's bid out.
Yes, it bid out, and he already put a number down for the project, and now he's coming here and he's going to benefit
I
because
just had a commissioner answer your question.
I'm just asking, is there
I mean, we
going to
can
be a
keep
refund of money for the taxpayers of Oak Creek?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakavich.
Ultimately, when we crushed the original concrete that was used on that site last winter, it saved the taxpayers money by not having it trucked, and it was reused within the site for backfill, roads, you name it. Same thing's gonna apply here. Ultimately, the taxpayer will benefit by the concrete that's gonna be crushed at that site. That's all I have to say.
Anything else on this subject?
No.
Mayor, we haven't answered how long you're gonna allow, are you gonna do it at night or not, Steve? Just change what we.
What's your guidance?
I need to know what we're voting.
I will give you that. What's your guidance for that?
The issue of whether or not materials would be brought to the site past 8 PM was not as mentioned in part of the application. So, as Pete was saying, if the DOT is going to be bringing in these materials past our noise ordinance, that was not something that we had considered during the staff report. There is the option that the DOT would just do whatever they need to do, regardless of what the Plan Commission says. So there is the issue of, do we put a time limit on it? I do think that the Plan Commission should institute the recommendation for crushing between certain hours. I think that should stay. I don't know whether DOT works during the weekends and whether or not this would be an issue for Saturdays. It seems like it would be just trucking past 8 PM is the issue. I don't know how loud those dumps would be or whether or not the reverse beeping would be an issue, but if we had no noise complaints from last year, is that going to be an issue now?
Do we just add a 5, a DOT, subject to DOT discretion?
Yeah.
You know?
That's my recommendation, is that this is a project that has to move, just like the lakefront, we had to get that dirt down there. They hauled
All night long.
all night long. And
So-
again, very few complaints because people were understood that that was what's going to happen in the short term.
And a 5.
Same situation here.
So then you would need to amend condition number 2A for general operation and just say that general operation would be Monday through Friday. Saturdays between 8 and 3.
No, I think what we're saying is that we'd leave that the same, but maybe add a C that says trucking subject to DOT discretion or guidelines,
Okay, so number 5 would be,
or 5, whatever,
Yeah.
or 2C rather, okay.
Yeah, do 2C, yeah.
2C.
Trucking of DOT-related materials based on DOT contract.
Or discretion, their policy, procedure, whatever.
Dan, did you have further comment?
No, that was it, Steve.
All right, clear on that? Motion on 5D.
Kakavich will make a motion that the Plan Commission approve the temporary use permit for the temporary concrete recycling plant at 3331 West Drexel Avenue, subject to the following conditions. 1, that all building and fire codes are met. 2, that the hours of operations be limited to A, general operation Monday through Friday between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. and Saturday between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. B, crushing Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. C, that trucking of DOT material is based on DOT schedule and
Regulations.
regulations. Thank you. 3, that no material are sold or used off-site and no materials are brought from the site from other projects other than Howell Avenue and Drexeltown Square. And 4, that the temporary use shall expire on December 31st, 2014.
Dickman seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Perillo, aye.
Kakavich, aye.
Scafidi, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Corral, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you. Item 5E is a certified survey map submitted by Brett Backus, Woodman's Food Market, Inc. for the properties at 8131 South Howell Avenue and 400 West Forest Hill Avenue, tax keys number 813-9014-006 and 813-9014-005.
This CSM is proposed to divide the lot into 4 lots, which all meet minimum requirements. This is affecting 2 properties owned by Woodman's, which is the large store lot here and the outlot that's next to it. The lots would reconfigure, you can't really see it. Let me try and rotate that for you. There we go. So what this would do would be, it would split and reconfigure these lots. So the building lot, or the current store lot would be reduced in size to about 18.51 acres. Lot 2 would be reconfigured from the original lot, as well as part of 400 West Forest Hill Avenue, which would be this kind of flag lot here. Lot 2 is reconfigured from Lot 1 and part of 400 West Forest Hill. Outlots 1 and 2 from would be reconfigured from 400 West Forest Hill and the 6th Street extension, which is shown through this parcel here. Excuse me. There are wetlands on the parcel that will be unaffected. Easements are shown. However, there was a comment by the engineering department that there's not a need to extend the stormwater easement through 6th Street, so it should be removed, even though it is shown on the CSM. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Brett Backus, Woodman's Food Market, Inc. for the properties at 8131 South Howell Avenue and 400 West Forest Hill Avenue be approved with the condition that all technical corrections are made prior to recording. Mr. Mayor.
Questions on this one, Brian Johnston?
Just a couple things. This Outlet 1 is part of the new detention pond that's been built for DTS. And also this Outlet 2 is another detention pond that was originally part of Woodman's facilities. This all becomes part of the Oak Creek road system with 6th Street being extended through here. One technical correction that doesn't need to be made is the easement's not shown for the sanitary and the water.
Okay.
I think it's on a supplement sheet, but it's not on this. That was all.
And it also allows Woodman's to fully develop Lot 2.
Yes.
Which they're very happy about. Alderman Bekavich.
Steve, you already mentioned it. Lot 2 becomes a buildable lot. Brian covered the other stuff very well. This is essential to get 6th Street through. And also Woodman's, it's my understanding, was very cooperative about this, so.
Woodman's has been fantastic through this whole process.
It's been positive all the way through.
Commissioner Dickman.
No, I had the same comments about Lot 2, so it's been answered. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Motion on 5E.
Correll moves that the commission recommends the common council that the certified survey map submitted by Brett Backus, Woodman's Food Market, Inc. for the properties at 8131 South Howell Avenue and 400 West Forest Hill Avenue be approved with the condition that all technical corrections are made prior to recording.
Seifert, second.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Correll, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Hang on, Pete's got his hand up.
I just want to make one last comment before adjourning. If I would read my report a little bit thoroughly for the temporary use permit, there's specific in our code that gives exceptions can be made for county, state, or for streets, highways on behalf of the city, county, or state during nighttime when the public welfare and convenience renders it impractical to perform such work during a day. So we have it actually written in our code that.
That would have been helpful 20
Where are you, 20?
I know.
Thanks a lot for your
But better late than never.
This goes to show you should really read your staff reports. They do have the answers in them.
Carrillo moves to adjourn at 7:26.
Johnston, seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Yes.
Guzekowski, aye.
Correll, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday.